U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will visit Egypt and Israel on Monday in hopes of implementing a ceasefire proposed by President Joe Biden last month as part of Washington's efforts to end the war in Gaza. Before his arrival, both sides doubled down on difficult positions that destroyed any previous attempts to end the battle, while Israel continued its attacks in central and southern Gaza, one of the bloodiest of the war. "We are committed to total victory," Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in a statement released by his office, citing relatives of Israelis killed in Gaza on Sunday. What is the main dispute? It has to do with Hamas' demand that we commit to ending the war without achieving our goal of eliminating Hamas. I'm not ready for that. This is clear. Hamas, for its part, said Washington must pressure its ally Israel to end the fighting. "We ask the American administration to pressure the occupation to end the war in Gaza, and the Hamas movement is ready to welcome any initiative that will ensure an end to the war," senior Hamas official Sami Abu Zuhri told Reuters before Blinken's arrival. The war has passed 9 months after Hamas-led militants killed 1,200 people in an attack in southern Israel and took about 250 more hostages. In response, Israel launched an attack on the Gaza Strip that killed more than 37,000 Palestinians and turned most of the enclave into a desert. According to Palestinian officials, 40 more bodies have arrived at hospitals in the last 24 hours. Thousands of dead are believed to be buried under the rubble. Attacks in Nusrati or Rafa Hain Rafah, a city on the southern edge of Gaza, where Israel launched an offensive last month against calls from the White House. Residents said Monday that tanks were trying to push deeper into the area, north in the early morning. They were on the edge of Shabura, a military fortress in one of the most densely populated districts in the heart of the city. About half of Gaza's 2.3 million people were in Rafah before last month's attack, and 1 million have been forced to flee again. Since last week, Israel has launched a major offensive in the central Gaza Strip, around the small town of Deir al-Balah, the last settlement center not yet invaded. On Monday, residents said the Israelis had withdrawn from some areas, but continued to carry out airstrikes and shelling. Residents of Nuseirat, north of Deir al-Balah, continue to clean up the rubbish after Israel freed 4 hostages in a major attack there on Saturday. Palestinian officials say 274 people were killed in the deadliest attack of the war. Israeli forces said they knew of fewer than 100 Palestinians killed in intense firefights there and did not know how many soldiers. "We are exhausted and powerless. That's enough," said Jihad, who with his family escaped the fire of the Nuseirat attack and was now in Deir al-Balah. The family had already been taken from Gaza to Nuseirat, Khan Yunis, Rafah, and back to Nuseirat before the last flight. In a video obtained by Reuters from Nuseirat, resident Anas Elian stood behind the ruins of his home as Israeli commandos in shorts appeared in the streets, firing wildly from the air with F-16s and quadcopters. "Anyone who moved on the street was killed. Anyone who moved or walked was killed instantly," he said. "There are still children under this building. We don't know how to get them out," he said, pointing to a piece of rubble. "Today we found martyred children in this building," he said, pointing to the other side. After months of failed peace efforts, Biden withdrew his ceasefire proposal on May 31, describing it as one that Israel had already accepted. U.S. officials say Biden made the disclosure deliberately without asking the Israelis to add pressure to the deal. Full details have not been released, but the offer described by U.S. officials is similar to texts published since January in previous failed peace efforts, a long truce in several stages, and the gradual release of Israeli hostages will eventually lead to an end to the war. What is different this time is that Israeli forces have captured most of the territory in the Gaza Strip at least once, and Netanyahu is under greater domestic political pressure to reach an agreement. Fighting has also increased sharply in northern Israel on the border with Lebanon. raising the risk of an all-out war between Israel and the Lebanese group Hezbollah, which is far better armed than Hamas. Popular centrist former Army Chief Benny Gantz resigned from Israel's war cabinet after what he described as his failure to outline a plan to end the war. That leaves Netanyahu more dependent on far-right allies who say they will topple his government if he agrees to any deal to end the war without destroying Hamas first. As with all previous peace efforts,